Hey, welcome back to J.P.s World of Wrestling. I'm your man J.P., and if you're new here, just welcome. Today, we're going to talk about the WWE Network on Peacock. Now, the positives are much, much more than the negatives, and the network is one of the biggest reasons why I even have Peacock. That and the fact that my wife likes some of the dramas they have in there. Her and I both like some of the sitcoms that they have on there, but for the most part, it's the WWE all the way for Peacock. And when WWE first acquired Peacock, I was kind of skeptical, especially because when they first started putting content on there, I was kind of worried because there wasn't a lot of the older content. It was just some of the new content, and I don't want to watch the new content. I want the old stuff. And I mean, if nothing against you, if you're into the new stuff, that's whatever, that's fine. I'm just not into it as much, but I really like the old stuff. And so over time, more and more, they started putting more and more of the older stuff, and eventually, all of the network was available on Peacock. Now, like I said, most of it I like. Most of the stuff I'm really into, but um, one of the positives, or rather, I should say, one of the negatives, and I know this is not something that could be helped, it is what it is that some of the entrance music from those old school events and stuff have been dubbed over with something generic. For example, Ravishing Rick Rude. Every time you watch a match with Ravishing Rick Rude in the WWF, he his entrance music originally was generic male stripper music. Now it's different generic male stripper music. I mean, it's just painfully obvious that it's not the original music, especially because I remember the original music and it's not what's being played on the network. And then with Chris Jericho in his WCW days, once he started turning heel, his music kind of changed into some generic rock and roll music, but now they've dubbed over it to be his WWF music, the Break the Walls Down music. And that kind of stuff, I know it can't be helped because I know there's copyrights and all that kind of stuff, but it really does kind of take away from the nostalgia from watching those old stuff a little bit. A little bit. I can still find enjoyment from watching the old matches. The other negative I would say is that some of the content is missing. For example, some of the years from WCW Saturday Night, they only have like 92 and 93 available on the network for Saturday night. And then with WWF Superstars, they only have like 92, 93 available. And some of the storylines progressed a little bit on those shows. And like I'll be watching Nitro and I said, "Oh, this past week on Saturday night, such and such happened during a match." I'm like, "Well, I didn't see that." But then they'll show a video clip of what happened. So that's cool. But man, I'd like to go back and watch those old shows. But again, I realize that it is what it is. You can't fit all of that content on the network. It's it's a memory thing for computers or whatever they use. So I know that there's probably a reason why they don't have that stuff. And then the other thing is something that maybe possibly they could work on is that sometimes it's hard to navigate. Like if I want to watch, for example, WCW from 1998, and I'll start watching a Nitro, but by that time, oh, well, Thunder is right after that. So after I get done with that episode of Nitro, I got to go back and then go back into the title screens and try to find Thunder and then find the corresponding Thunder episode. Then when I'm done with that, I got to go back into Nitro and watch the corresponding Nitro episode. So I just wish there was kind of a setting that you can push where it just says WCW 1998, push that. And then you can watch everything in chronological order. You don't have to go back. It just automatically plays it for you. I don't know. Maybe that's a tall order. I don't know. I just know that my best friend Joe, that I've talked about numerous times, well, he's got some kids, and he got them into wrestling, and they started watching the WWF from the 80s. Well, once they got up to like maybe 91 and 92, then they wanted to go back and watch WCW from the mid 90s when they started doing all the NWO stuff. And he wanted to get them into that because for him and I, those are some very, very fond memories of watching Nitro, watching the stories unfold with the NWO, what's going to happen next on Nitro. And like I've said before, back then, while I was still watching the WWF, I wasn't as engaged in the storylines as I was in the Attitude Era as I was with WCW Nitro. I just wasn't in as much into the content for WWF, but I was really into the content with WCW. And at one point in my life, I was watching Nitro and Raw both on Monday nights. I was watching basically 5 solid hours of wrestling because at the time I had satellite TV, and with the satellite TV you could go back in and watch replays of certain shows, including WCW Nitro. So what would happen is I would watch an hour of Nitro, then I'd go back and watch all of Raw, and then go back to TNT and watch the last 2 episodes, or last 2 hours, I should say, of Nitro. So, uh, so with the network, I get to go back and kind of relive some of those memories, and it's all fun. It's all about the memories. It's all about the fun, and I really, really enjoy watching it, especially when I've had a hard day at work. I like to, after my wife's gone to bed, I like to just curl up on the couch with my remote control in hand, tune into the network, and just get lost in the memories. And right now, I'm kind of going through the primetime wrestlings in 1987, which is very cool because I'm kind of watching the lead up to WrestleMania 3. So that's it for today. That's kind of my thoughts on the WWE Network. Next time, I'm going to go more into detail about primetime wrestling. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new here, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.